Heat race winners. Heat race number 1 went to the number 7 of Dustin Cady by 0.3 over Colin Weinbarger. Sandy Sanders was 3rd. McCombs was 4th. Lauren Cruzy 5th. And Michael Short, making his debut in the 6M Bar S Motorsports machine, finished 6th. Heat race number 2, the winner was Gray Ferrando. John Campos was 2nd. Matthew Dreger was 3rd. Kersey Ferrando 4th. A.J. Davis was 5th. And Mark Gaylord was 6th, with the Davis car and Gaylord car breaking on the first lap. 4 cars finished. Moving into the main event, 30 laps, we had 12 cars start the feature.
It's carrying over from Facebook.
It's going. 12 cars started the feature, and we'll take it from the bottom to the top. Sandy Sanders got in a little trouble there in the early start of the race. He was finished 12th. Michael Short in his debut. Tough outing.
That car's
for the owner of Bar S Motorsports.
That car I hear is headed back east to get fixed.
That car is heading back to North Carolina. Heavy damage. Got into that turn 2 wall and bent some stuff up, no doubt.
But I heard he's okay.
He's okay. That's what matters most. He was okay. Got out, walked away, but probably a little frustrated with his racing debut. You know, that's the thing about racing. The bumps and bruises that come along, and the learning curve is. There's a lot going on in that cockpit. People don't realize it. They've never been in a cockpit of a race car, especially again a field like these guys. You know, you've got to be on point.
Yep.
Because these guys are good. This modified field is good.
If it was easy, I'd do it.
If it was easy, everybody would do it. That's the thing. That's the talent these guys have. And that's the respect I have for anybody that can get one of these cars, especially a modified. You know, you're so limited on the tire. And there's no rear spoiler, and there's just a lot going against you. These guys that wheel these cars around here wide open, through traffic, 3 wide and stuff, you got to respect that. You might not have to like that driver or that group of drivers, but you better respect the talent in those cockpits of these modified, because these guys, man.
Skinny tires and horsepower don't always mix.
It's a bad combination, but a lot of these guys are so good at what they do. I mean, they truly are, and it's a fun field of cars to watch. And so those 2 guys ended their night early, Sanders and Michael Short. A.J. Davis was 10th, 1 lap down. Kersey Ferrando in the 23K was 9th. Mark Gaylord.
I asked her how the car was. She goes, it turns. So
I
I'm
think,
good.
and honestly, to be honest about her, and this last Saturday was probably the best I've seen her run. She ran a pretty good race from the start to the finish. She was smooth. She was consistent. The car looked a little better. Gray's been working on that car a lot this year as far as him being in the cockpit, so she got into a pretty good rhythm, and yeah, she did pretty well. I got to give her props. You know, another driver that doesn't have a lot of experience, but you can definitely see her improving every time she gets out there. Good run for Kersey. Mark Gaylord was 8th. Lauren Cruzy brought it home 7th. Rod McCombs was 6th. Matthew Dreger in the 21A was he finished in the top 5. Dustin Cady was 4th. 4 times he's won this year, finished 4th. Colin Weinbarger was 3rd. Campos was 2nd, and Gray Ferrando got to the front and never looked back.
Nope. He checked out.
He checked out. Well, and you look at the margin of victory is 3.19 seconds. That's because of the late caution. At one point, that was probably about a 9-second lead before that caution came out. I mean, he was out there.
Half a track.
Yeah, he was all by himself.
It reminded me a lot of the weekend before.
The weekend before with
Bryson checking out.
Yes, a lot like that. Got out there, got a clean racetrack to work with, smooth, consistent, hit the marks. You listen to Gray's car last Saturday, and again, it goes back to what you were saying with who are we talking about that went too soon?
Slover.
Right. Kind of when you're in a position like that, and you know you got a fast guy up front that's got all that racetrack to work with, like in this case, Gray did. Gray didn't have to drive the car hard. And Gray didn't drive that car hard, and that's what won that race for him.
He got the rhythm and just hit his marks and kept going. I'm pretty sure he didn't hear anybody behind him, so he wasn't too nervous. So.
Oh, he didn't hear anybody behind him. They were too far back.
No.
But here's the thing. Listening to his car, this is something we do is, in our positions. Listening to that car come down the straightaway and into turn 1, even from the tower, you could hear his RPMs weren't nearly as high as everybody else on the racetrack. Now those guys, it's hot outside, it's slick, and they're thinking, I got to catch that leader, and they're again driving as hard as they can. Sometimes the old adage comes into play. We've all heard it. You got to slow down to go faster. Gray mastered that Saturday night.
His was the only car going into 3 I never heard the tire squeal.
Well, and even on 1, that's what I'm saying. I when the RPMs, you could hear him watch him drive into 1, and it wasn't sideways, it wasn't jacked up. It was just kind of roll in, get the car to turn, back on the throttle, and you could hear him roll on it all the way out and down the back straightaway. The car never got up real quick, and
it didn't shoot out of the corner. It was just smooth and
exactly
a continuous acceleration all the way down the back.
Near perfect run for that V13, and man, he had to be. I mean, you can't be any happier with a run like that than put it all together and run away from these guys. Because, like I said, he might have won by a little over 3 seconds, but the lead before that late caution was, I'd say, it was probably close to 9 seconds. He was gone. He was out. Yeah, he was out there. Pretty scary when you see someone like that can be that fast. If the feature rolls out and you're sitting 7th, and you see those guys, someone that fast starting, let's say, I don't know, on the outside of the second row or front row, it puts some concern to you.
It does.
And when those guys, saw Ferrando start, and that's how IMCA works, the point system, everything, it rewards those guys to start up front. You got to be on your A game, and Gray nailed it.
But this is the class, literally, that there might be a driver that dominates for a couple weeks, and then boom, done. Somebody else is coming along.
Right. And we've seen that with, Weinbarger winning 4 races, I think in the first 5 or 6. Then Katie came along, and he won 4. And, Campos has a couple wins. Ferrando's got a couple wins. I mean, this class, like I said, this is a very, very talented pool of cars. The drivers here are just so competitive, so close.
And how many wins in a row does Bryson have down in Grove right now?
Right. And he's won at Willamette, just a couple weeks ago, swept the weekend. It's this... You don't know. Mm-hmm. You just don't know, and that's what makes watching these modified cars so great.
If you go to the Moxie page and go down to the points, and you look at that, and you look at the top 6, it looks like turf across the front because it's all green.
Squares, all those green squares represent a win, and look at them. There's 2 guys with at least 4 wins.
You've got Weinberger with 4,
Katie with 4.
Let's see, Bryson James with 4.
4 at Willamette.
Campos has got 1. And Ferrando is 2. So you got a whole...
But there's anybody in this field at any given time can win.
On any given day.
Right.
Yep.
It's just, that's how the modifieds are. I mean, they are, in a sense, much like the street stocks, but I think even more competitive from top to bottom.
Yep.
Because it's just... the way these cars are built and the way the rules are, I'd say, at a driver's disadvantage, if that makes any sense. It's almost like the rules are made to be a disadvantage to the drivers in the seat. It's like these cars were designed to be as hard to drive as possible. And usually it's the other way, to put the power on the ground. But these guys, I'm telling you, I love watching these modifieds. I love watching the talent, how these guys do it. Because they earn every position.
But that fact is they drive it. That's why a lot of these guys like this class, is because it is more driver-oriented. Setup goes a long way. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't, because these guys literally, the amount of time that they put into setup and testing, I am mind-blown talking to them. But it is a driver's field.
Absolutely.
So if you can strap into a modified, you're my hero. Just like watching Kersey. Like, literally, that I'm like, wow. It's impressive.
Those cars are harder to drive than a street stock.
Yeah.
I mean, they truly are. Like I said, the rules are kind of at the driver's disadvantage. But, man, fun to watch. Great field of cars. Super late models were our feature event. We had 14 qualify. Track conditions qualifying weren't great. They weren't bad. There wasn't a lot of traction.
Nope.
You're fast. In that hot part of the year where they'll put water on it and the sun's beating it down and you're done.
10 minutes later, it's gone.
Right.
And you can watch it. You can just see the shades of gray go away.
Yep.
And it turns the brown, ugly-looking, slick
it
to
sure
the black
does.
stuff.
It doesn't take long after a couple laps. Yeah. 14 cars qualified. Mark Thompson was 14th fast. Brian Norton was 13th fast. Britton Donahue was 12th. McLean Bedoin was 11th fast. Jerry Schramm was 10th. Rob Campos 9th. Terry Hall was 8th. Johnny Cash in the 61C was 7th fast. Randy Boyd 6th fast. Trent Elliott in the 4E was your first car in the top 5. Sonny Modoff, the number 8 car, the Yosemite Sam car, was actually 4th fast. Good qualifying effort for him. Tomas Hunziker was 3rd fast. The other XR1 Rocket of Darren Koffel was 2nd fast. And your fast qualifier of the night in the Oregon-built chassis, the X-Factor VS1, was Joey Tanner. 15.624 was fast time. 15.736 was second fast. Those are the only 2 cars in the 15-second bracket, was Joey Tanner and Darren Koffel.
And I am a Joey Tanner fan, but I was actually surprised that they unloaded and were that quick, with the slight fact that they went and partied the night before. I didn't think that they were going to have that.
Well, that's the thing. Joey's still young. Joey's still young. He's got the ability to do that. He recovers quicker than us old guys.
Yeah, Chris wasn't recovering all that quick. He was looking a bit rough.
Super Late Models Heat Race number 1. The winner was Brian Norton, the 71. Second or third time we've seen him this year. Good run for the 71 in that heat race. He edged out McLean Bedoin. Britton Donahue, Rob Campos, Jerry Schramm, Terry Hall, and Mark Thompson was the running order for heat race number 1. Heat race number 2, Johnny Cash was the winner in the 61C. Randy Boyd was second. Trent Elliott, Tomas Hunziker. Then it was Darren Koffel in the 46, Sonny Modoff, and Joey Tanner completed 1 lap and got black flagged. It was driver appreciation night. It was a one-and-done deal in the heat race. I don't like that rule.
Well, Joey didn't like it either.
Well, and I understand why, because
I didn't think it was right, because but it all comes down to he stopped, and the caution, so he's out. The other 2 kept going.
But this is why, and you're right when you say that, but this is why I don't like that rule, because of the fact it wasn't the 111's fault why he was stopped.
Right.
But he stopped not to tear up his stuff or anybody else's.
That's true.
And that's what I hate about this one and done, or if somebody gets taken out, you both go to the back. I don't like that rule. The no cause, no fault. If you're involved, you go to the back.
But if he hadn't stopped, it could have been worse. If he hadn't backed out and got out of the way.
So that's why the car got sideways and stopped. And I just don't like that rule. Everybody has to race the same rules. It could have been anybody, and unfortunately, it was, Joey Tanner or anybody had to suffer the one and done. I've always been kind of against that rule or the no cause, no fault deal, but it cost him. He completed 1 lap, didn't get to learn a lot about the car in that heat race. Modoff was 6th. Darren Koffel, Hunziker, Elliott, Boyd, Cash was the winner. We get into the super late model main event. Now, there was a lot of stuff that happened in this feature. And things were, and again, let's go back to weather conditions that worked for some people
and didn't for
and
others.
Really worked against some people.
Here's my take on that whole deal.
Let me hear it.
During the feature, if you was up front and you could get into the front and get in that line and stay in that line, it's your race. If you're in the back and you're trying to get outside of a car or get under a car and you can't get there, forget it.
Well, and that's where, and you're right, you're absolutely 100% right. That's where, when you've got to come from the back, okay, which I'm all for. Fast guys at the back, I'm all for that, 100%.
Makes it interesting.
Right. But what doesn't make it interesting is when you have a track where you can't get 2 cars wide.
That's right.
It limits the passing. Now, Tanner was trying that coming from the back, and on lap 13 into turn 1, he was working on the 10 of Terry Hall, super slick conditions. The 2 got together, and the 111 shot straight up to the turn 1 wall and made heavy contact.
Like a bullet.
A lot of damage to that car. I talked with Joey through text message this week. He kind of sent me some information about the car and said that about $1,000 worth of damage. The whole front end on both sides was tweaked, bent, needed to be replaced, and that's unfortunate for anybody.